Episode 3, Tales of the Tape. We got a treat today. 3 guests, all with extensive open outcry options trading backgrounds. And we recorded this from the edge of the SPX pit, which is over my shoulder, which handles a ton of volume still. So a perfect setting. And you'll also notice that's the reason, while there'll be some occasional hubbub in the background. Joining us from tastylive are the eponymous hosts of the LIZ JNY Show, and from Cboe, our global head of derivatives, Cathy. They cover how those experiences trading helped make them who they are today, with plenty of amusing anecdotes shared along the way. Very unique situation. 3 people here, all current, active market professionals, but with a similar but different origin stories. Both at Cboe, early days on the floor, P-Coast, as you called it, now a couple of different names. I'm just hoping you all can kind of chime in with your meet cute with the industry. What was the first thing that got you on the floor and how?
So I started as a summer intern. I was studying economics at University of Illinois and also majoring in Spanish. And I wanted to go to do international business. But I had my summer at the Cboe and I thought, this is where I want to be. I went back to school and took every options course I could take, which there weren't many back then.
I was about to say.
I was with the farmers. I was in the futures classes with the farmers. And then never looked back, came to the Cboe right out of college after I graduated. And that was the only place I ever worked until I started the show with Liz.
Yep. How I got to the trading floor? Okay, so I was a finance major. I've known her since I was 14 years old. We didn't go to the same school. I was at Eastern Illinois, finance major. And I knew I wanted to be a trader because I don't know if you know this, but I talk extremely fast. And this is actually slowed down from like how I was born. And I was born this way. I talk fast, I walk fast, I eat fast. So I knew I wanted to be a trader, but I had no idea how to get down there. And then my mom worked at a golf course when I was a junior in college. And she found $30,000 in an unmarked envelope underneath a seat. She just opened it. It's like, oh my God, the cash. I knew who was sitting there, gave it back to the human who happened to be the head of Bear Stearns at the time. So he's like, oh, thank you so much. Is there anything I can do for you? And she literally looked at him and goes, yes, my daughter's trying to get to the trading floor. And I know you work at the trading floor. He's like, she's got a job. I was a runner in the bond room for Bear Stearns in 1997.
It was the same year. I had my internship at the Cboe and you were at the bond room.
Yeah.
And we would meet for lunch occasionally.
Go to Ceres.
But it was the summer of 1997 when we both had our internship and our first experience down here on the floor.
I mean, the second I set foot on that trading floor, I knew that was the exact place that I needed to be. And my dad even said that. He goes, you found your people. You found where talking fast and acting fast and moving fast made sense instead of everybody telling me to slow down. So yeah, I loved it from day one.
Well, I was in graduate school and I was just finishing up there when my sister, younger sister, who was going to school at the University of San Francisco, called me and she said, before you take any job, you need to come out here, because she had a part-time job on the P-Coast, on the exchange in San Francisco. She was what was called a market quotron, or MQ.
She did that. And
So that's what, when a trader yells like, make those a half 3/4, the MQ goes half 3/4. And it puts up on the screen so the market makers can see. So she was doing that. She said, before you take a job, you got to come out here. So I drove from Boulder, Colorado to San Francisco in one shot. I stepped on that trading floor and like Liz, I knew I had found my people and my place, despite the fact that I had no idea what a call was. I had no idea what a put was. I don't think I ever heard of a derivative. I just knew I needed to be there, and I would have washed toilets in order to have been on that floor. Yeah. Fortunately, I didn't have to enter that way, but I would have.
Your sister, who was the quote reporter, is she still in the business too?
No, not at all. No, it wasn't her place to stay.
Yeah, because that's how you started.
That's what Cboe. So my grandfather got me the job over at the Cboe. He was friends with some of the security guards at the Cboe, and they said, where can you put her for the summer? And they put me in a pit, in the OEX pit, as a quote reporter.
Yeah, you were Tom Sosnoff's quote reporter, right?
No, well...
Wasn't he in there at the same time as you?
No, because I started in 97, and I think he left in 94 or 95.
I think he left in 2000.
Oh, well, I don't remember him. It was a big pit. I didn't stand where he stood.
Yeah, it was a big. Yeah.
Because at that juncture, OEX was still bigger.
I think the
than-
OEX was bigger than the S at that time.
It was.
At that time. Yeah.
Okay. Man, well, that's one of the things I just love about this industry is like there's this interlocking tapestry of stories. I mean, my colleague Jen was just being like, oh, I had Spanish class with, I'm like, how does everybody know each other? It's insane. So thinking about other than being tall, outgoing, and able to shout, what was the skill that kind of kept you on the floor, enabled you to succeed? Maybe you didn't walk in with it. Maybe you had to develop it. What was it? I'll throw that to the crowd.
Okay, so in order to get on a ticket, you had to be first. And so I have this ability to do math very quickly in my head. So it was easy for me to be first when they would come in and quote a spread. So you just have to be first to get on the ticket. And it was my quick math skills that
Okay,
kept
and
me on the floor.
when we say math, keep in mind that she's adding and subtracting fractions. Because at this point, they were not quoted in pennies. That's how old we are. They were fractions, 16ths.
Teenies, yes.
That used to be the barrier to entry. It used to be so complicated. You got to come in and add and subtract in 16ths. Like that was kind of how it was done. That seemed like it'd be a very big barrier to entry, especially for retail traders. Who wants to quote in 16ths?
No. But for a market maker, it was completely within the capacity of the market makers to do that. But I think all of us would agree to be on the floor, you've got to be fast.
Yeah.
You've got to be differentiated. And that's actually an advantage for a woman in a trading floor environment. Our voices are different. So even if we might have been third, we often got called first because our voices just stood out and that's what the broker heard. But
That's
you've got to be
excellent point.
competitive and fast and thick-skinned because it's not an easy environment all of the time.
I always say thick skin, short memory because you can't remember.
A goldfish.
Yes.
A fat goldfish.
Well, you got to leave it on the court, right? You know, you got to be able to come back the next day,
Yeah.
wash, rinse, repeat. At least I've heard that from other people. I haven't had that experience. But I want to get into like the style, the type of trading that you guys were engaged with on the floor. Both for Timber Hill from the get-go, Cathy and
I was
Liz?
Timber from the get-go. Well, like I said, I was Bear Stearns bond room. And then after college, I went and worked for Anderson Consulting. Because I graduated early and it was the dumbest thing I've ever done. And I went into corporate America. Corporate America and I did not mesh.
Shocking.
So, like at all. So then she had already graduated and gone to the trading floor. And then I worked you were with Timber Hill as well. She was with Timber as well in the beginning. She was my actual options teacher. She gave me her flashcards, her 16th, her teeny flashcards. So when I brought those home for the first time, I remember my mom and my brother being like, what the heck is that? I was like, I got to learn how to do these. You gave me your flashcards.
Right. So I started at Timber out of school and I stayed at Timber a couple of years, but I wanted to be on my own. So then I just found a backer and traded his money and I got a cut and he got a cut. And that's what I did until I had my son. And then I left and took an 8-year break and came to Tasty Trade.
So you transitioned to, I guess, local, if you will, and both of you stayed on the market making side of things.
Yes, I actually dabbled because I worked for Timber. So I dabbled as a broker and I dabbled as a DPM. So yes.
Okay. And so what type of, and I don't know exactly what the right phrase is, but I hear people talk about like different styles, right? How would you describe what you engaged in on a day-to-day basis?
What I think is interesting about the trading floor, it's kind of the exact opposite of what we do right now. So I know we're called market makers, but that meant we had to take what was given to us. So I know that sounds crazy. We're the ones who are making the market, meaning like we did the opposite of what everybody wanted to do because we had to. So we had to make a market. So we really didn't do anything but take what was given to us and then hedge it off. So it's very much, and I actually did go to improv school too. It's very much like improv. You have to take what's given to you and you have to add to it.
Yeah. And there were people or firms that were much known for back spreading or front spreading, which means basically they were firms who liked to own options, net own options so that they benefited from movement. And there were firms that had much more of a short sort of gamma position where they wanted to benefit from the passage of time. So there was small differences in that, but Liz is exactly right. You're market making, you take what comes into the pit.
And then you have to do something with it. So you have to hedge it, for lack of a better term, to make sure that you aren't exposed to too much risk.
And so at that juncture, were you hedging on the phone? You're calling your stock person?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
The best hedge is another option.
And I was a little different because they were with big firms. So you were with the big firms. So she might be trading something and then the firm is trading something else against
on
it.
a different floor. Like, that's why I would call Cathy too. I'd be like, is Goldman Sachs coming in here doing that on your floor too? And she'd be like, yes, they are.
And I was just one person with one account, and I was more of a gamma scalper. So when I traded, we had a group of 3 guys in our office and 1 backer, and we were all more gamma scalpers. And it was really interesting. Last week or 2 weeks ago, when we had that really busy week in the market, I talked to some of the guys from the pit, and some of the floor traders. They just talked about how they were just, it's like
back to the old days.
Back to the old days of gamma scalping with all the big moves we were having. And that's how it was when I was an independent on the floor.
Because gamma scalping just means you want movement. You don't care which direction. You need both ways.
But you had to scalp enough every day just to cover the cost to be here.
Right, because I overheard that you were a seat renter.
Yes.
Right, so at a bare minimum, I mean, gosh, I don't know what they are now. I don't know what they were then. I mean, how much is that?
How much is the permit now down here?
I don't know actually what.
It was crazy.
Can I ask
when I started, it was about, I think it was 10 to 12,000 a month when I started. And by the time I left, it got down to 4,000 a month. And then I saw it as little as 700 a month.
Yeah.
It was just as we went from fractions to decimals, to the pennies, to the tight markets, made it harder and harder and harder to be on the floor. That seat got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
But it was harder and harder to make money as the seat got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. It's kind of like that. You can charge something, so you can charge a lot more for something that's more expensive or that you're going to make money doing.
In the 90s, it was easy to cover your 10,000 a month rent. And then when you got to 2002, 2003, it was hard to cover your rent.
The demand for the seats went sky high at one point. And so you could be renting a seat, if you didn't own the seat, for $40,000-$50,000 a month. But then you would have to cover in costs and trading. So it was really, it was a supply-demand led phenomenon.
Well, Ian, when you think about it, when you're in teenies, your markets are this wide. And floor traders like a market that you can drive a truck through because that's how they make their money, is from the difference between the bid and the ask. So and what's helped is for the rise of the retail trader, as the markets got narrower and narrower and narrower, it's harder for the professionals and easier for the retail. And it should have been. I'm glad it went that way.
And so, I mean, I guess that kind of leads me into, especially with the, timber being early and the at least that's what the lore is, right? Like the first to use computers for options trading and stuff like that. Yeah. So what was that experience like? Because I feel like that probably goes hand in hand, right? I mean, decimalization probably wouldn't be as possible without the influence of technology. As things are getting bigger, there's more data, there's more, how did you see it encroach or grow in your tenure on the floor?
The thing that the 3 of us share, as you've heard, is that we all started at Timber Hill under a very ingenious innovator, Thomas Petterfy, who from the earliest days was encouraging us to automate our way out of our jobs because he could see the future was going to be computer-led. It was going to be very technologically led. And that was very different from the open outcry environment we were in, which was, as we talked about before, paper everywhere. No, he envisioned what the world was going to be, and he brought that vision to the floors, and he shared it with those that worked for him. So I think we were all very lucky to have started our careers under someone like Thomas Petterfy, who could see the future in ways others didn't.
You're right, and it did go that way.
It did.
Yeah.
Of course.
When it went that way, the mom and pop shops couldn't last like the big firms, because when you're making a penny instead of a quarter, you have to have such large amounts and so many trades in order to make it in that world. And so that's why now you don't see any individual mom and pop shops down here. They're all big firms.
They're all big firms, yeah.
It was really funny. So we had a time capsule for our 50th that we uncorked. And for whatever reason, it's kind of ended up around my desk because I like looking through the stuff. There was a time capsule. And so there's a ton of the old tickets from 1973 with the orders on them. Before puts. But it's just interesting to contemplate, a lot of them are just one lots. And it's just the amount of effort that it took for a single, and it's we're talking, well, I don't know if any of the companies even exist anymore. And they're in there, maybe McDonald's or I don't know, something. And how it would take just one contract would have all of this ecosystem behind it. And now that's crazy, right?
Well, everything gets more efficient as time goes on, and you put technology behind it, right?
And remember, with that one lot in 1973, I bet you whoever placed that trade probably paid $200 in commissions for that one lot.
So there's the other side of it, right? Not only are the bid-ask tightening, you see that across the board, or maybe not across the board, but a lot of places. And then you get zero commission or low commission trading on top of it, where you're not doing a $50 round trip for, whatever. I mean, what was it even when you guys first started?
Probably $25.
Probably 25. I think Charles Schwab was like really early on, and it was probably a $25 kind of charge.
And that's why I remember when I left the trading floor, I was probably the last of the three of us to leave the trading floor. And I remember when I did leave thinking, I can't do this because the costs are too much for me to trade in my own account. Like, I'm just going to have to stick to, buying stocks or doing whatever. Because being a derivatives trader or, buying or selling options, which I was used to, I thought that was out of my reach with the commissions the way that they were. And then they just consistently started coming down until they're at a level where everybody can do it.
Was this, so my eagle-eyed colleague was going through and she found this photograph from roughly 2005 or so-ish.
Yeah.
So was this was at what juncture in your time? Was this towards the end?
So this was a picture that was put into their annual report. I know that. And I made all the annual reports because I was the only girl down there.
And is that that's a super fit?
No. You know what I'm standing in front of? Let me see. So this was Hewlett. This is Hewlett Packard right here. And I think I was doing something in the markets. I was in this pit at the time. So this was Hewlett Packard.
DPM era. This is the era where there were DPMs.
Yeah.
Because the DPM started in 2001.
And this is late because you can see everybody's got computers in front of me.
And so like before, not really? They've got those funky terminals or they're like the weird handhelds. Yeah.
And I can still, like, sometimes I wake up and I'm like holding it like this.
I'll tell you something. And maybe you guys had this on the Cboe, but on the P coast, and obviously we're in San Francisco, so maybe it's different, but there were market makers on the floor that were afraid of the radiation.
Oh, I was.
She was.
Coming off of those handheld devices that we had. And they actually brought these like radiation detectors in to make sure that we weren't poisoning the other traders in the pit around they were fine. They were safe. But there was concern when they first came to the floor.
Ours hung around our neck so that it's strapped, this little computer hung around our neck and just kind of hung here on us all day. Then plus our pockets full of paper and pens and tickets and cards. And most people from the trading floor, you see them now and we're all a little...
I was trying to sit up straight.
Yeah.
Leaning forward because we had so much hanging from us down there.
Well, it was your office, right? That was your office.
We were walking office.
I mean, what else are you going to put it? Especially if you're standing there bell to bell and you're not going to leave. You're not going to take 30 minutes to go grab lunch.
Right.
You're not going to, we're not going to talk about if you did or didn't eat on the floor. I know that can be a little bit of a...
on the P coast. It was allowed.
Okay. It was allowed? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, on the floor. Food on the floor.
Yes, we were allowed to have food on the floor.
Come on.
We were. I know. It was different than the Cboe.
I had one clerk. We called him the kid. I know he's not a kid anymore. We called him the kid because he could bring anything in. I was like, okay, here's the deal. Like we'd always task him with bringing in things.
Smuggler.
And the one thing that he did was the most impressive was he brought in 4 ice cream cones in his jacket pockets.
Oh my.
Well, I hope that individual has their jacket still. Because
that kid was a real go-getter. So
he's probably somewhere really big and important.
Yeah. That's the CEO.
Back in the Homestake Monsanto crowd, we had someone who would brown bag, sneak in bottles of wine, and we would do wine tastings in the pit.
Did you ever see the movie License to Drive?
No.
Okay, where there's a set of twins. And there's a set of twins and they both go for their driver's test. And so I feel like Jenny's was like the real nice, very calm pit. They would like throw me in when there was a fight. They would have like wine tastings. You had a chair. At one point I walked by and she's got like her feet up and I'm like running around like a lunatic.
Very demure, very mindful. Whereas yours is just a little bit more.
Well, I will say, but as working for a firm, you went where they told you.
Yeah.
And when you're trading on your own, you go where you want to go. So I went into the smallest pits. I'm not tall and loud and fast. So I went, I'm fast. I'm just not loud and tall.
Yeah.
I'm not, so you said I'm loud.
Yeah.
I'm not loud.
No, okay.
So I chose the smallest pit, quiet pit, super nice people. And I would go to those pits and Liz would get thrown in. They would say, okay, you're tall, you're loud. You're going into...
I remember Tom Smith, I'm sorry if you're out here, got into a fight. So then he comes, and he's like, you got to go in. I just got into a fight with that guy in the crowd. It's like, great. Okay.
Meanwhile, Jenny's trading Louis Vuitton and Gucci in her pit, drinking wine.
I was like, I'll go in.
Totally different experience.
I had a nice time on the floor.
Well, it was 17 different ones, I believe, is the number that's thrown around. Different
How
places
many
you.
pits have you been in?
I've
You've
been in
all of them.
All of
I've
them.
been in every single one.
Not every. I'd say 5 or 6.
I was in them all.
What
I
was
have not been in that many, probably 5.
what was the like kookiest?
It was during the .com era. DoubleClick, all of those names we don't hear about anymore. Trading those names.
Pets.com. Yeah.
Yes, all of that was like nuts. Like you literally like would set a market, let's say $1 at $2. I'll pay $2. What's your next market?
Where you at now? Where
Now
you
I'm
now?
$3 at $5. Pay $5. You're like, what is happening here? Like it was just nuts. There was no way to like be able to at that point understand the volatility in these names or have any correlation between these names and any sort of reasonable hedge. And you certainly couldn't get the underlying off as your hedge. So things just moved. That was craziest time on the floor that I remember.
I bet.
Yeah, there was bonkers. .com.
the
It was
dot-
2000, right?
That was 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
I don't remember. In 2000, I was just sitting in the corner
You were
glass
in-
pit.
you were in Montana.
I was in. I had BP. I had
Drinking
BP.
wine.
We've already established what you were doing.
I don't know. I don't remember it. It didn't bother me.
So I do want to go back though, because there is these like cultural differences, even within Chicago, right? You know, you got the futures people, you got the options people.
There's cultural differences pit to pit to pit.
Right.
Because I was in every single one. I said this on one road show because I would go in, and I hope they're not listening, but so I would go into every single pit, and I swore each pit had a different like feeling. And their men are very much like hive animals. So if the alpha male in the crowd worked out, they all worked out. If the alpha male in the crowd loved his wife, they all loved their wife. If the alpha male was an asshole, they were all assholes. And it is, and I could have written a book. I mean, it is true to this day. I've never seen anything like it before in my entire life, but it's very true. Whoever was the most dominant in the crowd. And at that time,
There's always a dominant one in the crowd.
I know we say trade small trade often because at that time it was the biggest trader. Usually the biggest trader had the most dominant personality.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I remember my first day in the pit. You know, you're terrified when you first go into a pit.
Oh yeah.
The minute you open your mouth, you can absolutely expect everybody in the pit to turn around and just like go after you, which is why I've seen people come into pits, never open their mouth, and 3 months later they're gone without ever opening their mouth. So that first day you're in a crowd and you open your mouth, it's scary. I think it took me about 3 hours into the day.
Me too.
to actually do it. And then I remember the alpha in the pit came up to me after that first trading day, and he repeated in order every trade I had done at the price I had done it with the counterparty included. I couldn't even tell you the first trade I'd done of the day.
Yeah.
He knew everything from memory. And that was his way of saying, I'm in charge here. I'm large and I run this pit and I know everything you're doing. Yeah. I want you to know that. An intimidation factor. But I was like, geez, that was impressive. You know, wow.
That's an intimidation factor
Yeah, it
right
is.
there. Yeah.
Well, it really says something when that's your first day and you're like, this is the place for me. I'm going nowhere else. I know every single thing you did today.
What was wrong with us? Like I would come home and be like, that was so traumatic. And I'm like, I can't wait to go back the next day.
Oh, I know. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear the roar behind us right now and you still get that little bit of like tingle, like, oh, there's something happening,
Yeah.
you know?
They're quiet today though.
I've heard a couple.
A little bit, yeah.
I've heard a couple. Well, market's down a little bit, balls up.
Where are we now?
Squeeze down 50. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, well.
Okay, I've got another little kind of old, not a picture, not a.
I love it.
I was trying to find. I went on a hunt for like other people's pictures. I'm going to have to ask you individually to send some in. Maybe we can use them.
There was no
cameras.
there weren't cameras down there.
You could
And
not
we
have
didn't
cameras
cell
on the
phones.
floor.
The only reason that exists because someone from the Cboe marketing took it to put it in a brochure. Yeah, photography. You could find
dadgummit.
it.
There were death threats.
Yeah, there's no
There were
photography.
death threats to
I
people
wish there
on
were
the
pictures.
floor.
I wish we had more pictures of ourselves.
I
down
know.
there.
We have our badges. That's all I can.
Your badges and jackets.
And our badges have our pictures on it.
So wait, you said there were death threats. It's like people like for revealing the secret sauce or like
No, for losing money in a particular name and finding out who the lead market maker was or the designated primary market maker was here on the Cboe. And there would be actually sometimes threats into those market makers that these investors felt like, you know, had ripped them off. So there's absolutely no photography or filming allowed on the floor for other reasons, but safety was one of them for the market makers.
Well, I had to go out to the horse to fight someone.
Well, yeah, I've always heard about go out
Oh,
to the
she
horse.
does.
You did?
Yeah.
You went to the
Say more.
Went to the horse.
Say more.
I had to. I was a clerk. This was when I was new, and I was a clerk. And my market maker, you know, you trade check when trades don't match. You have to go. The clerk goes to meet the other clerk, and you say, my trader bought them, and she says, no, my trader bought them. And you keep going back and forth, and both traders are saying,
Take it to the horse.
I bought this to take you to the horse. So then the two female clerks, we went to the horse to fight for our market makers.
So that's a take it outside
This did
trade.
not happen on the P Coast.
They were civilized.
What was it a little bit? I mean, chiller. I mean, like you just told the story about the alpha coming up to you. So I mean, maybe
I don't think the environment was much different.
No, I don't think it was much
I don't
different.
think it's
But
much
you didn't
different.
have a fighting location.
No, we did not have. They just did it on the floor, and it was typically the market makers to market makers fighting.
They made the
they
two-
didn't send.
they
They
made the
didn't.
two-
They
they made
didn't
two
delegate
girls
that
go
to
to
the
the
clerks. Yeah, that wasn't a delegated task.
fun. So I've got a quote from you, Cathy.
Oh, dear.
One of the challenges the industry faces is taking the enormous amounts of live and historical data from the market and harnessing it in a way that gives it meaning. This quote is from 14 years ago.
Oh.
I feel like it could be said today, and it would be exactly true, but in different ways, right?
You harnessed that power. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, the great news is that has been remedied in a lot of ways through firms like Tasty and others who have taken what's important in the market in terms of data and expertise and then turn that into insights for an audience. And so the audience is less dependent upon sourcing that market data themselves or building analytics. Like, this has been largely solved for. Do we still have an abundance of data in the options market? Absolutely. The amount of trading, the rise of the retail trader, the enormous growth in options volumes continues to create burdens on certain players in the market ecosystem to digest all of this throughput. But for the retail trader in particular, I am just so thrilled that 14 years later-ish, this has been largely resolved for retail traders.
Well, and I think about also the number of exchanges. I mean, talking about, it's like you're calling over just to get a touch base on what's happening over on the other coast. But now, I mean, I was 19, 18? I lose track. I have to ask other people how many exchanges there are.
You're in the right
Yeah.
zip code on
But
that.
information dissemination has come a long way, though,
For
too,
sure.
hasn't it? Yeah.
For sure.
Least favorite part of the trading floor?
The smells.
About it. At my pits, it didn't smell. I think we had.
My gosh, my friend Wayne, God rest his soul, he was one of the first people I stood next to. He never, ever, ever washed his pants.
That would be unlucky. That would be
Yes!
unlucky.
Never never washed his pants.
Yeah.
Never. And he'd been down there, I think, for 20 years.
That's such an interesting question that none of us can come up with something we didn't like about the
I
floor.
said, Wayne, but I loved Wayne. He was one of my favorite people.
I mean, I hate to be the person that focuses on the negative, but it's like, that's the part I'm curious about.
I
Like,
love
what
it.
was
I
the
wish
rough?
I
How
could-
did you overcome the hurdles? What was the rough part?
Wasn't there? I mean, don't get me wrong. It was pretty aggressive to be there, but I did like that portion of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I loved everything about it. I loved walking in and getting my jacket in the morning from our fabulous
ritual.
team of jacket keepers. And then what were they called?
They were called jacket keepers.
Oh,
There was
you have that?
No, coat people.
It's
Oh,
the
coat
coat
room.
check.
Yeah,
Coat
yeah.
check.
Coat check.
So we had this lovely group. You would go in the morning, say hello to everyone at the coat check, get your jacket, come to the floor, and then there was just the excitement of the day.
And my favorite is no matter what you were doing, when the bell rang, you were done.
Yes.
You were done. My husband's always like, I'm going to be home at 10:30 tonight. I was like, well, it's 3:02.
And this is where the San Francisco exchange was
Oh,
far
you were
better.
at
'cause
102.
We were done at 102. You had your whole afternoons to learn to surf and do other things like that.
yes.
Yeah, that was great.
It was nice. Bell rang and everyone was, I had a little, when I worked for Timber, 302, turn in your computer and you're out of there. But then when you're working for yourself, 302, and you go to your office, I had an office in the Board of Trade building. You go to your office and you're kind of going through your sheets.
Anything mindsets changed? I mean, now you two have a very particular approach to trading, probabilistic, J Blizzard, the things you've mentioned are all have a certain element to them, right? You're not out there just rampantly buying a whole bunch of upside calls or something like that.
I mean, I do think the mindset is changing overall for absolutely everybody. I find it fascinating now because I've got an 18-year-old and you have a 21-year-old boy. My son just turned 18. So we opened up his first trading account. And what I love about it is that younger kids and especially boys, and I wish there were more girls who were doing this, but I become like the most interesting person in the room when my son turned 18. Like I'm getting phone calls from his friends like they're going out of style because they now are trading. They love these 0 DTEs. and they're using them as scalps. Like the mindset is totally different than it used to be. Like I don't know any 18-year-old who knew what a derivative was when we were 18.
For sure not.
No. Or a call or a put. You know what I mean? Nobody even knew. Those weren't even words.
No.
I mean, even like Delta One instruments were confusing to me. So you throw options. I'm like, yeah, pass. I'm going to be a journalist. You know, hard pass.
That is nice. It's nice to now share what we know to our kids and their friends. When I go to visit my son at school, he goes to Miami University in Ohio. I'm like a little celebrity over there because they watch the show. They some kids trade. I brought them T-shirts. The finance club there, they're all familiar with it. So it's really cute and it's fun and it's great to see that young generation just embracing retail trading.
Because it is, and I said this before, I think we're just scratching the surface of the derivatives market.
Yeah. And, my sons are a little bit younger, not because I'm younger, but because I got started later. But, they're into Bitcoin mining.
Oh.
So, but then I think about, okay, if my son is going to mine Bitcoin and then have Bitcoin, then he better learn how to overlay Bitcoin index options against whatever holdings to either get income or protect it. So there's
how old are they? 8?
15 and 10.
Bitcoin index options are your next step. Well, the 15-year-old might.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, the 15-year-old might get it, but the 10-year-old, Bitcoin index options are the 3 words I need you to say.
So how much is your electric bill? Do you just not look at it?
I came home and he said, "Oh, I'm mining Bitcoin. I've made this much." I said, "What is our electricity bill?" He's like, "Well, why?" I said, "Because there's a certain thing about how much we pay per kilowatt of power, and that needs to be in balance." So then what he started doing is actually putting solar panels on a backup generator outside. And he mines Bitcoin at night off of solar power generators.
Okay, you know that I'm going to be working for him one day. What's his name?
His name is Cooper.
I'm going to be working for Cooper one day.
Same.
I love that though, because then you're getting like, well, that's the fun thing I find about these markets, right? It's like, okay, you've got like the surface level of it, right? But then it's all the other things that then it gets you thinking about and curious about, whether that's just decision making, whether that's, I mean, you guys know better than I do. But it's just like there's so many things that it then can lead you down a rabbit hole, lead you down, learning more about functions or calculus. It can, like so many different things. And so that's the part I love about it. And now
I'm excited. I'm having a crypto expert on Monday because Liz is out of town and I'm going to talk to him about Cooper and his solar powered Bitcoin mining. Yeah.
Now he just needs to learn about derivatives to protect his position or make some income. That's it.
You're handling the engineering.
So I'm going to hand Cooper off
crypto
to the pros when it comes to that.
But I mean, truth in every goof, like when's your, do you have an idea of like when you're going to introduce this like concept of these markets to your kids? Or is that like a bridge too far? Let them Bitcoin mine?
He's doing this. Like he'll get there eventually. Just let him do his thing.
It's the only path to like, wait a minute, I have all of this Bitcoin stored. I can't make any income off of it. And I can't protect it. Oh, let me tell you about how to do that. And that's the natural pathway into derivatives. It's the same as we own a stock. And you're like, I want to protect the downside or I want a little bit income generation. Leads you to derivatives. So there's a path to derivatives in so many
And I would
ways.
like to state for the record, it's got to be somebody other than the mother.
Yeah, that's why I'm sending Cooper to you too.
I'm great with all the other kids, but my son's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you're right.
Like, we'll talk about being a contrarian. He's like, oh, the other side of whatever mom says, right? Yeah. Anything else that's just like on your minds? Like I always ask people, what does nobody ever ask you that you're just like anxious to talk about? Like,
That's an excellent question.
No, you guys get asked so many questions from your viewership.
Yeah, we do get a lot of random questions.
I mean, and you must find some really interesting ones that come in that make you think, wow, I wasn't thinking about it.
I love getting the questions from the viewers like that because it makes us think about things a lot differently. And even when we go on the road shows and meet people, just meeting people and what they're doing, I love getting their perspectives. Just because you can kind of tell the three of us share a little bit of the same mentality. Do you know what I mean? So it's good to get, I call them the Gen Pop, regular people's opinions.
Yeah.
Well, careful. I think the inmates might be running the asylum from time to time. But is there something in particular that you'd like to leave maybe a younger audience with in terms of recommendations or, okay, you are curious. Like, what are your personal perspectives on maybe like, how do you scratch that itch?
So we talk a lot about just jumping in. If someone's trying to learn how to trade, we'll find that if someone starts with a paper account, they'll be in a paper account forever, for years, before they ever make that leap into actually trading their own money. So we always say, trade small, trade often, but just start small. Start with a one lot, start with a spread, start with a low price product, but jump in and have skin in the game. Because if you don't have skin in the game and you're just doing studies and back testing and looking at other people's results, it's hard to really get yourself into the game. So I don't know what you think about that, but we see that.
No, we see that all the time. And I would just say, learn it, because I get on a soapbox and talk about this all the time. My daughter for a long time wanted to be an actress. My son thought he was going to be a basketball player. And I was like, listen, here's the deal. If you can learn how to make money from money, you can be an actress, and you don't have to be a waitress. You can be a derivatives trader and an actress. This is the only industry where you can do this. People trade, like Jack Tucker, we know, he's trading 2 hours a day. That's it. And then you can focus on other things too. So once you learn derivatives and harness the power of them, which they're not that hard to learn, by the way, you can really do anything you want. The world opens up, I think.
So even to get the courage then to open an account to trade derivatives, Cboe's Options Institute, which we're celebrating our 40th anniversary. If you can imagine that,
Come on, really?
Cboe has had an education arm for 40 of its 51 years. It's
Really?
incredible.
That is incredible.
And so anybody who's just interested in starting to even say, what is a derivative? The same question we asked ourselves when we stepped on the floor many, many moons ago. Go to Options Institute, and there's curriculum. You can start learning just what is an option, what do they do, base education, and then you can go open an account and start getting that real world education, tuition, as we call it.
And it's all free, right? Like
It's all free.
Yeah, it's all free. You can just get on there. Like,
free.
That's the one thing we're trying to say. We're trying to break down all the barriers. You don't have to fight your way into a crowd anymore. There's no high commissions. Like, everybody should learn this. We're not gatekeeping.
Yeah. The power of derivatives.
Honestly, for me, I felt like the biggest gatekeeping element was just the vocabulary and the terminology. I mean, like, forget the acronym side of things. As always, our required house cleaning items, the views and opinions expressed by the host and guests of this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Cboe Global Markets and are for informational purposes only. They should not be construed as financial advice. There are significant risks associated with transacting in all of the financial instruments described herein. It is very important for market participants to understand their own risk tolerances. To review all relevant disclosures and disclaimers, please visit us at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers.